Hi crafty friends, it's Donna here, and I have been having so much fun with these cards. I've broken out a technique from the kindergarten days, and I've been playing. I've made so many card backgrounds and used a bunch of them for today's cards. And what I'm playing with is shaving cream and ink refills. I haven't done this for, let's say, a very long time, if we're counting back to kindergarten. And so I'm going to show you what I did, but also show you what I'm going to do next time. Because, for example, I had much more shaving cream than I needed. I'm using some dye ink refills from Pink and Main. The colours in ink refills are so vibrant that you only need a tiny bit, and I could have used much less than this and still had lovely results. Once I've dropped in all the ink, I'm using a toothpick to swirl it around. You could be very deliberate and use something like a comb to get a definite pattern, but I've chosen to go for something very swirly because my idea is to make some New Year's cards, and I want them to have the vibrance of fireworks. I'm just using regular cardstock for this. I buy Nina Classic Crest Solar White cardstock in bulk and cut that up to use for my cards, and this is the 80 pound. I was a little bit tentative to start with, but after a while I got the hang of really pressing the card down into the shaving cream. I let them all sit for a little while, and I'm not sure whether that was the best idea. It certainly made for quite wet cardstock, but they turned out just fine. I wasn't sure whether I needed to let the inks soak in properly before I started swiping at them. Next time I'll go back and experiment with wiping it away immediately. Please let me know if you know the answer to this question. There was shaving cream and ink in every corner by this stage, and so I decided to grab some stencils and swipe through those with the scrapings off the cards. And this turned out to create my favourite cards of all of them. I loved the effects that I could get through the stencil, things that I've only dreamed of with an ink blender. I layered the shaving cream on quite thickly for the first cards, but later on I spread it thinner, and I think the thinner spread was easier to manage afterwards on the cardstock. Now you can spot the lazy crafter here. Too lazy to clean up my desk. I'm just sliding into the same gap. I did go back and wash everything after this and go back for a second round. I took the shaving cream from everywhere. Once I'd made a few with the extra off the cards, I took some more off the plate. After I scraped off the cards onto the towel, and then I used the foam off the towel back onto some more cards, it just never ran out. I then laid all of my panels in the sun to dry for a few hours. And when they were dry, some of the darker panels seemed to have a little bit of extra ink on them. And so I wrapped them in a tissue and put them through my die cutting machine. For most of them, once through was enough, but one or two of the darker panels needed to go through twice before the tissue came out clean. I need to let you know too that these are the best smelling cards I have ever made. Even as I'm recording this voiceover a week after I made the cards, they still smell fantastic. It's all that shaving cream. The stamp set that I used is called Happy New Year. Funnily enough, when you see the sentiment that I've got here, it has a bunch of big bold sentiments. I'm stamping this with VersaFine Onyx Black onto some Simon Says stamped vellum. Ink doesn't dry very well on vellum, and so I'm covering that now with some clear embossing powder, and I'm going to heat emboss it. For the longest time, I've struggled to work out how to cut around sentiments. I fussy cut my way around all kinds of images, and I'm happy enough with that. But with sentiments, I never know where to go in and out. And it suddenly occurred to me that I had the perfect template for doing that right at my disposal. And so, once I had finished heat embossing, I lay the stamp down onto my paper and traced around the outline with a pencil and cut around that, just inside the line. I used an eraser to clean it up a little bit where there was still some pencil left. It seems like every adhesive you use shows through with vellum, and so I've got two options here. One is to put adhesive only behind those black letters so that you can't see it. Or my other option, which I've chosen, is to make the whole sentiment into a sticker so that there's adhesive equally everywhere over the whole thing, and so you can't see it. I made two cards with this same design. one with the vellum sentiment and one with some paper from Pink & Main that coordinates with the ink refill. It's also called Dress Shop. I also use an eraser to prepare my stamps before I use them for the first time. I just rub over the whole surface and give it a wipe to make sure it's clean before stamping. It's amazing the difference it makes to the results right from the very first stamp. I'm using Dress Shop ink. I've got the full matchy-matchy experience happening. I'm going to use some stitched rectangles dies next. I've laid all my sentiments up with some foam tape and finished off several of the cards here. I still have a bunch of backgrounds left, and I'm hoping to make some more fun birthday cards with those in the near future. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this. Feel free to like or subscribe to find out what's coming up next, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.